President Trump held a rally down the Jersey Shore over the weekend, and news outlets, as well as Wildwood, New Jersey officials, are reporting that his appearance drew a crowd of between 80,000 and 100,000 people. His biggest campaign rally ever, and it took place in liberal New Jersey. You can see all the crowds there, right there on either Maury's Pier or one of the big Wildwood Boardwalk piers. All sorts of fun rides, and then lots and lots of people, and the crowd swelled and swelled until you get up to that 80,000 or 100,000 number. The unexpected rally made national headlines. Many people are shocked. Most don't know what to make of it. I am not shocked, and I do know what to make of it. And that is because I have spent a lot of time in Wildwood, New Jersey. Until the age of 18, I spent a lot. I don't know, 3 weeks a year or more maybe in Wildwood. I smoked my first cigar in Wildwood. I was conceived in Wildwood. And I sort of wish I didn't know that, but I do, and I was, just as many people over the years have been conceived in Wildwood. I am not shocked by the turnout, but I understand why some people are. The population of Wildwood is around 5,000. The surrounding towns, Wildwood Crest, Cape May, North Wildwood, combined bring that number to around 14,000. The numbers swell during the summer season, but it's still off-season. The season down there doesn't begin until Memorial Day. So where do the 80,000 people come from? Atlantic City is about an hour away. Philly, about an hour and a half. Wilmington, Delaware, I guess, is only about an hour and a half away. I don't know who came from where, but I do know that the people who went put in an effort to be there. And why? Why was Wildwood, New Jersey, surrounded by blue cities, the site of Trump's biggest rally to date? Because Wildwood is a nostalgic place. Bobby Rydell sang about those Wildwood days in the early 1960s. The first rock and roll record ever was first performed by Bill Haley and his Comets in Wildwood in 1954. Wildwood was the hot place to be in the middle of the 20th century, as America was growing and flourishing and getting rich and having lots of babies. Wildwood offered middle-class and even blue-collar Americans a fun, bright, totally American beach vacation for their growing families. Wildwood is a time capsule from the absolute height of our nation's relative wealth, power, and optimism. It is the kind of place that makes a person want to make America great again. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. Jennifer Lawrence is calling former Vice President Mike Pence gay at some gay award. I think it was the GLAAD, the Gay Lesbian something award. So she's calling him gay. We will examine whether Mike Pence is or is not, in fact, gay. First, though, I want to tell you about Policy Genius. Go to policygenius.com/Knowles. Life is full of surprises, but your insurance should not be one of them. Policy Genius, your trusted partner for navigating the complex world of insurance, is changing the way we shop for life insurance right now. Policy Genius has licensed award-winning agents and technology that make it easy to compare life insurance quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. You can compare quotes from top providers right from your phone or computer, all in one place. Plus, Policy Genius has a team of licensed experts ready to answer all your questions and guide you through the process. They will make sure you get the coverage you need without any of the hassle. Getting life insurance for you and your family will give you peace of mind knowing that if something were to happen to you, your family can get back on their feet. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policy Genius works for you, not the insurance companies, so they don't have the incentive to recommend one insurer over another. Save time and money. Provide your family with a financial safety net using Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/Knowles, KNWLES, to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. policygenius.com/Knowles. Trump pulls 80,000 to 100,000 people in Wildwood. Meanwhile, President Biden tries to shake hand with a ghost at some speech he was giving in Tampa, Florida. Biden walks away from the lectern. He's got his hands out to shake someone's hand, stumbles a little, then realizes no one's there. And he looks out into the relatively small crowd. I guess this is a rally for rally. I can't. There looks from the camera. It looks like there's about 24 people there. It says reproductive freedom. Let's go. Let's kill those babies. And he goes to shake hands, and it's just a ghost. I don't know what Joe Biden's seeing. He might be imagining someone standing there. It might really be a ghost for all we know. In any case, the man no longer has situational awareness. Yes, he's in decline. Yes, he probably has some kind of dementia. Yes, he doesn't speak well anymore. He doesn't even have situational awareness. And that really matters for Biden because that was the one thing he had. He never had much of an education. He never had much in the way of convictions. He probably, not the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to IQ, but he always, being a really successful empty suit politician, he always knew how to glad hand. He always knew how to simper. He always knew how to win the crowd in the room and tell them whatever they wanted to hear. He has lost that. He no longer can really read a room. He no longer can really play to a room. He's trying to shake hands with people who aren't even there. Bad news. So the only thing they can do, especially if the Biden crowds draw, who knows, a handful of people, and the Trump crowds draw, the population of the state of New Jersey or something, they've just got to keep him to very, very tailored on-camera appearances where they can edit the performances and avoid the big rallies. The way they were able to do that in 2020 was by shutting down the country over COVID. There's some indication they might try to do that again, but whichever of their tactics ultimately is successful, they just need to find some way to make sure that this is not a campaign that is won on the campaign trail. The one political gift Biden had, that situational awareness, that ability to flatter people in the moment, even that is gone. So the guy is left with nothing. Now, one last speech to get to before we move on to other news. Commencement speeches at American universities are generally terrible in recent years. Back 150, 200 years ago, even less than that, even in the early 20th century, commencement speeches involved serious people giving disputations in Latin, Greek, sometimes Hebrew on serious subjects. Now it's usually a bunch of clowns getting up, doing a little soft shoe routine for the clapping seals who are in the audience. I'm mixing metaphors, but it paints a picture at the very least. It's just jokes and flattery, and the whole university system is basically a joke and flattery. You pay $250,000 for a lot of these schools. It's very difficult to get in because everyone's applying to college. And then you don't really learn very much there, and many of the things you learn are not true. And then you get some degree that increasingly has little value. Might even be a worthless degree at this point. So the commencement speeches in recent years have reflected that. You lose the serious scholars, you lose the serious statesmen, you bring on Will Ferrell or somebody, not to pick on Will Ferrell, but those kind of speeches. So they're always terrible. The comedian speeches tend to be the worst of all because they just show what a clown show the universities have become. And yet there was one exception over the weekend. That would be Jerry Seinfeld. So not just a modern commencement speaker, but actually a comedian who gave one of the best commencement speeches I have heard in years at Duke University.
Let go of this idea that you have to find this one great thing that is my passion, my great passion, with your shirt torn open and your heaving pec muscles. It's embarrassing. Just be willing to do your work as hard as you can with the ability you have. We don't need the heavy breathing and the outstretched arm from your passion. It makes coworkers uncomfortable in the cubicle next to you. Find fascination. Fascination is way better than passion. It's not so sweaty. I will give you my 3 real keys to life, no jokes, in this part. Okay, they are, number 1, bust your ass. Number 2, pay attention. Number 3, fall in love.
Beautiful, beautiful advice. I love the first part, which some of us have heard before, but it's worth repeating. Forget about my passion, my passion, my passion. Find something that fascinates you. What's the difference between, some people would say they're the same thing. My passion is just what fascinates me. Not really. My passion is all about me, 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 me. It's all about some internal performance. It's all about me as detached from the rest of the world. My economic circumstances, my social circumstances, my actual hard skills. No, all that matters is my burning passion. No one cares about your passion. Something that fascinates you is outside of you. It allows you to stop thinking about yourself for 5 seconds. It will absorb your attention. It will inspire you to focus your efforts on this thing. And maybe you'll be successful at it. Maybe you won't be successful at it. If a thing fascinates you, you're more likely to be successful at it because it's about the work that you are doing and the goal you want to achieve. It's not about being a certain type of person. It's a subtle distinction, but Seinfeld totally nails it, and he's totally right. A man wrapped up in himself makes a small package indeed. Hell is the place where we have nothing to do but amuse ourselves. Focus on that thing outside of you. It's going to be much better for you. And then he gives those beautiful pieces of advice afterward, which we'll get to in just 1 second. First, though, something that fascinates me financially is gold. And you got to check out Birch Gold. Text Knowles to 989898. Can your savings weather another economic storm? During times of economic uncertainty or market volatility, investors tend to flock to gold as a safe haven asset. Its value tends to increase during turbulent times, providing a buffer against market downturns. This is why people are flocking to gold now and why Birch Gold is busier than ever. Birch Gold understands that navigating financial decisions can be daunting. That is why their dedicated in-house IRA department is there to guide you every step of the way. Birch Gold is committed to addressing your questions and concerns promptly. Their team is always ready to provide answers and clarity, whether it's about fees, taxes on rollovers, or the timing of the process. They are here to ensure you feel valued and well-informed. Text Knowles, Canada-WLES, to 989898 to talk to one of Birch Gold's experts and claim your free info kit on gold. You will learn how to convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. The best part is it does not cost you a penny out of pocket. Just text Knowles, Canada-WLES, to 989898. That is Knowles to 989898. He says, number one, bust your ass. Very true. I've never seen anyone make it who doesn't work very, very hard. I used to think when I was a kid that the people at the top didn't work very hard because, you know, they've got all their money and their yachts and they don't need to work hard. It's only the people at the bottom who have to work really hard. The people at the top, you work so that you don't need to work. You make all that money so you don't need to work anymore. Not true. In my experience, the people at the top work very, very hard. Usually they work harder than anybody else. He's right about it. Jerry Seinfeld obviously has done that. Jerry Seinfeld easily could have retired in 1999 with zillions and zillions of dollars. And no, he keeps going out, hitting the road. He keeps doing movies. Sometimes they flop. Sometimes they're better than others. He's giving commencement speeches. The guy just keeps working. Number two, pay attention. This is related to his bigger advice at the top. Pay attention. Be focused on other things. And he says, look, my whole life I've just been focused on little trivialities. What's the deal with airline food? That kind of stuff. But by paying attention, by paying a little bit more attention than the people around him, he gets a little bit of an advantage. For him, it's in comedy. For you, it could be in engineering or accounting or welding or whatever it is you do. But if you pay attention, you get those details and you recognize that knowledge is power and knowledge is a prerequisite for freedom even, because freedom is willing, predicated on understanding. You're going to have an advantage. And then number three, this is the most beautiful thing. He says, fall in love. And this is not sappy. This is not saccharine. This is not mamby-pamby stuff. Fall in love because your desire is what's going to shape your character. Fall in love because charity is not only a virtue, it's a theological virtue. Not only a theological virtue, it's the greatest of all virtues, without which we're nothing but a clanging cymbal. And fall in love because our loves are going to define where we end up. that I also gave a graduation speech over the weekend, and I gave it at a homeschool co-op, a homeschool hybrid system with one graduate. I was asked to do it, and I said, I love the idea of it so much that I did it. I gave a graduation speech to one person. And coincidentally, this was the topic that I was speaking on, very similar to what Jerry Seinfeld was talking about. The difference between the greatest sinners and the greatest saints is not necessarily their degrees of education. It's not necessarily their intelligence. There have been very, very intelligent sinners before. The difference is their loves, where their love is oriented. Do you love the good and you're drawn toward the good? Like Dante says at the end of the Divine Comedy in heaven, he says, and I could feel my soul turning as a wheel. It was all beginning to turn by the love that moves the sun and the other stars. Or is your love oriented toward selfish things, toward temporal things, toward material things, toward things that are not going to serve you in the long run? Fall in love, Jerry says. And this is very important. In our modern age, we're told, suppress your loves, deny your desires. No, you gotta, it's all about love. It's all about desire. You've just got to make sure that love is in the right place. Not all love is equal. I know we say love is love these days. No, there are different kinds of love and different orientations of love and different those can make all the difference in your life. Beautiful speech. He also, just a few other bangers before we move on from Jerry. He tells the graduates they should embrace privilege. He says, today we're embarrassed about things we should be proud of and proud of things we should be embarrassed about. Beautiful way to put it. Chestertonian, if you ask me. So true. We're embarrassed that our parents gave some of us a better life than others. Our privilege, right? We're embarrassed if we grew up in a good neighborhood. We're embarrassed if we have white skin. We're embarrassed if we... You should never be embarrassed about your family. You should never be embarrassed about some aspect of your ethnicity or that you can't change, you didn't choose. You don't need to be embarrassed about that. You should never be embarrassed that you had parents who gave you a good upbringing. That you shouldn't be embarrassed about privilege, period. I want my kids to have privilege. I want to work to make sure my kids have privilege, and ideally more privilege than I had. We all should do that. It's not that we shouldn't deny privilege. We should use it responsibly. But we don't act responsibly. That's why we're proud of things we should be embarrassed by. Think of what we're proud of these days. We have a whole month where we're proud of all the weird sex stuff that people do. That's one of the things we should not be proud of. Perfect observation from Seinfeld here. Then he says, don't lose your sense of humor. It's an essential surviving quality. It is worth the occasional feeling of discomfort to have some laughs. So true. This affects people on the right, even as it does on the left. The left is humorless. The right has a problem with this too, though. Some people on the right, they just want to be so angry all the time, and you don't understand. The evil they out there, they're destroying our lives, and we need to be angry and pull our hairs out. No, man. And who is they? Well, it's the Democrats, it's the leftists, it's the globalists, it's some people would say it's the Jews. That's one of the recurring prejudices that crops up in history. Or it's the UN, or it's the WEF, or it's the whatever. But ultimately, if you follow that back far enough, it's concupiscence. It's the fallen state of the world. It's because Adam in the garden ate an apple. That's really what it comes down to. So it's a fallen world, and there are all sorts of. I'm not denying that we individually and we collectively and we all contribute to that fallen nature because we commit sins. But that's not going away anytime soon. That can be redeemed and is redeemed, in fact, if you believe, as I do, in the crucifixion, the harrowing of hell, and the resurrection and the ascension, and the second coming, the end of the world. You definitely believe in that this will be redeemed. But in the meantime, it's a fallen world. The only way to get through the fallen world without pulling your hair out is hope, the theological virtue, and faith and charity, But second only to those virtues, humor. Have a sense of humor because things are a little off. We all know that things are a little off. We all know that things are not as they should be. So you laugh or you cry. Great, great point. Now, speaking of funny things, and speaking of the Jews, I guess, some Princeton libs are out on a hunger strike because they hate the state of Israel so much and they're really upset. And so they're on a hunger strike at Princeton. They're boycotting their eating clubs this week, and they're complaining that they're hungry.
This is absolutely unfair. My peers and I, we are starving. We are physically exhausted. I am quite literally shaking right now, as you can see. We are both cold and hot at the same time. We are all immunocompromised. And based on the university's meeting yesterday with some of our bargaining team, they would love to continue physically weakening us because they can't stand to say no to unjust murder. I'm doing anything special. This is my choice, and I would not spend my birthday doing anything other than being here and standing in solidarity with you all and standing in solidarity with our siblings and innocent people in Gaza.
Okay, she's right about a couple things. One, she's not doing anything special. That's true. Two, this is exactly what she'd like to be doing on her birthday. This is how she's oriented her love. And there are all sorts of psychobabble reasons that I could go into about how these Princeton kids ended up doing this, but I'll avoid the temptation to read their minds. I'll just observe their actions. They chose to be there. They chose to go on a hunger strike, and then they whine and complain about it. Then they blame the administration. The administration is forcing us to, no, they're not. You're choosing to go on a hunger strike. And in this case, I think there are many other better reasons to go on a hunger strike, but you think this is a good cause. Okay, well, if you're going to do it, then how about you suffer silently, darling? How about you kiss it up to God? No, you can't. You got to make a big show about it, even though you're the one starving yourself. Reminds me, one time I was giving a speech at Loyola Marymount with Drew Clavin. And at one point, these black students came in, and they had duct tape over their face. And I don't know why they were angry. I don't know why the black student organization was angry at me. I don't think I'd said anything to offend them, other than maybe I made fun of BLM or something. Usually it's the who protest me. But in this case, it was these black students, and they put tape on their mouths. They probably didn't even know who Drew and I were. They just heard conservatives are here and conservatives are awful, terrible racists. So they came in, they said, we're being silenced. And I said, hey, any of the kids with the tape on your mouths, here's the microphone. Whatever you think you're being censored from saying, here you go, here's the mic. You can say whatever you want. Anybody want to take the mic? Not one person. Not one person came up because they put the tape on themselves. And they put the tape on themselves as a big performance. They were so upset that in theory they had been prevented from speaking that they didn't actually come up with anything to say. They didn't have anything to say. Just a big performance because it carried some social currency and because they didn't know what else to do. Because they hadn't, getting back to our first point, they hadn't really cultivated their loves. They didn't know what they want. They know things they hate. They don't really know what they love. They don't, other than tearing things down, I guess. They don't really know what they love. They don't have a good and reasonable and sturdy destination to which their love can propel them. One of my favorite things that I'm doing these days is the Michael And series of long interviews. In this series, I've covered an array of topics. This episode might be the most shocking yet. I sat down with Dr. Robert Epstein, the former editor-in-chief of Psychology Today, about the control that big tech has over the minds of people around the world. If you were not notified that we released the episode this weekend, after watching the episode, you may have an idea why. Here's a quick teaser.
We published a landmark study in which we show bias in Google search results can change people's views about anything at all.
How bad is it?
I gave a briefing, a private briefing. A few minutes later, one of them walked out. I know exactly who it was, and he walked up to me and said, Dr. Epstein, based on what you just told us, I predict you're going to be killed in some sort of accident in the next few months. But a few months later, my beautiful, amazing wife was killed in a horrendous car accident.
Are you deterred at all?
Yes. Then there's another part of me, which is the science guy. Every single thing we do is relevant to everything that's happening right now.
Right.
With the algorithms shifting the views of people who are undecided on some issue or other around the world by the billions.
Now what?
We are fucked, okay?
The full episode is now available on the Michael Knowles Show YouTube, Spotify, and X channels. It would appear that this interview is being somewhat suppressed on one of those platforms. I'll leave it to your imagination which one it is. So you can get it elsewhere too, though, Spotify and X. Oops, did I just... Okay. Subscribe to all of those and watch the ad-free version on DailyWire Plus. Speaking of looking ridiculous, and what you should do, one thing that will help your living is subscribing to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. Smash and subscribe. Ring that bell. Now, on the flip side of famous women, you have J.K. Rowling speaking a lot of sense. We also have Jennifer Lawrence, who is fully embracing the rainbow agenda, up to and including calling Mike Pence gay.
I was in love with a homosexual. It was my first love. I tried to convert him for years, but now I know conversion therapy doesn't work. Did you hear me, Mike Pence? I said conversion therapy isn't real. Even though I know you think it worked on you.
This is kind of a new one to me. I mean, I've heard this kind of line all the time. This is all what the left and the pro-LGBT people say. They say, if you disapprove of, a fella dressing up like a chick and then reading books to little children in the library, you're probably secretly gay. If you disapprove of our extremely decadent, disordered lifestyle, you probably have it or desire it or something. But I never heard it about Mike Pence. Does anybody seriously believe that Mike Pence wants to go, hit the local gay bar, so he wants to go hit the local drag queen story hour? No, I don't think so. He just disapproves of that kind of stuff. Even, I don't know, they made it out like Mike Pence was, affixing electrodes to homosexuals and zapping them until they weren't gay anymore or something. That isn't true. That's almost entirely made up. He's just publicly disapproved of this kind of behavior, and for that great sin, they malign him in all sorts of ways. They did that to Pence a lot, though. Remember that time they called Mike Pence a misogynist for refusing to cheat on his wife? He wouldn't go on dinner dates with young women. They said, that man, he's a misogynist. He won't even cheat on his wife. But now they're saying he's gay. Okay. Why? What is this about? This is not about Mike Pence or even the LGBT stuff. This, too, is about a denial of reason. This too. Because what Jennifer Lawrence, what all the libs who say this kind of stuff are implying is that one can never have disinterested approval of anything. If you disapprove of something, it must be because you secretly desire that thing. That's the only explanation. Because in liberalism, you're just supposed to let anyone do whatever they want. Now, of course, in practice, that's not what they don't want to let. They don't want to let women have their own sports leagues. They disapprove of that. They don't want to let us have our nice just families and live our lives normally and raise the American flag and have hot dogs on the 4th of July. They don't want to let us. They don't want to let us run businesses normally. They don't want to let us speak on college campuses. They don't want. So there are plenty of things that they disapprove of that they don't secretly desire necessarily. But that's what they say about us. They say if in any way, if you oppose the rainbow stuff, you're a secret homosexual or something. Because why? Because you can't, what they're implying is you can't know anything that you are not actively or passionately involved in. We know this isn't true. You don't need to suffer cancer to be an oncologist. You don't need to be covered in 3rd-degree burns to become a firefighter. But the way to The way to have that sort of disapproval rather, is to use your reason, to just figure out what a thing would be like, to know something about that thing through our reason objectively rather than through our direct experience. The libs can't do this. Liberalism is about empirical experience. Ultimately, it comes to a denial of reason, a reason that destroys itself. It destroys its own basis by denying the source of our reason, which is the intelligence that created the universe. And so they end up with this. Apparently Mike Pence is gay. News to me, probably news to Mike Pence. Responsible Man is our first true joint venture with our friends at Legacy Box. That's one of DailyWire's first advertising partners. Co-founders Nick and Adam came to us with the idea of bringing a world-class men's lifestyle company to market. Responsible Man is a men's vitamin and supplement brand that is not just for gym bros, but for every man on a journey to be his best, as a husband, as a father, and as a citizen. The Emerson MultiVitamin may just be the finest men's multivitamin on the market. The problem is that your modern diet is often deficient in key vitamins and minerals, leaving you weakened and diminished, unable to reach your full potential. The solution? The Emerson MultiVitamin. It is a physician-formulated, robust supplement made up of 33 key premium ingredients that helps fill nutrient gaps to support your immune system, maintain energy production, sharpen brain cognition, and support the health of your heart and muscles. Emerson comes in an exceptional matte black aluminum tin. With so much wokeness causing chaos and uncertainty, it is crucial that you take charge of your mind and body. It can start with the Emerson MultiVitamin, a simple daily discipline to make the most of yourself, live up to your responsibilities, and exceed the expectations of others. Visit responsibleman.com. Save 30% on your subscription of the Emerson MultiVitamin with this exclusive launch sale. It's in stock and ships immediately when you purchase at responsibleman.com. There's a limited number available, so take advantage of this launch deal and save 30%. That is responsibleman.com to take responsibility. Prince Z, 413, had my favorite comment last week, says, voting for a Kennedy is like voting for a Clinton. Enough is enough. That's really true, actually, in that both the Clintons and the Kennedys present themselves as moderate Democrats, but they continue generally to move left with the Democrat Party because they don't really stand for all that much at all. They're just kind of avatars of the Democrat establishment. That's true. It's a real indictment of conservatism that any conservatives have considered voting for Robert F. Kennedy in 2024. Now that's probably out because Kennedy embraced up until the moment of birth. He's trying to walk that back now, but maybe we'll get to that if we have time. But real indictment. Okay, guys, what is it going to be next? We're going to be voting for Malia Obama. We'll say, I long for the good old days when Democrats were reasonable, like under Barack Obama, I just want to go back to the good old days when men were using women's bathrooms and they were in women's sports leagues, but it wasn't mandatory that we watch them strip naked all the time. I just want to go back to the good old. No, we're just moving the culture further to the left. It's pathetic. No Kennedys. No Kennedys, no Obamas, no Clintons, no libs. No libs. We got to be conservative. Now, speaking of saucy accusations on the old libidinous front, we turn from Jennifer Lawrence to Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels is now alleging that Donald Trump MeToo'd her, basically, that he pressured her. She didn't know what to do. She was this little wallflower, and she somehow ended up in Donald Trump's hotel room, and she didn't know how she got here. She was so scared. Oh, she was nervous. She was sweating. And Bill Maher, a liberal who is not with us, but he's somewhat more reasonable than the leftists, Bill Maher just calls BS.
Why did you Donald Trump?
I have no idea.
Okay, but you say it's not a Me Too case.
It is not a Me Too case. I mean, I wasn't assaulted. I wasn't attacked or coerced or blackmailed. They tried to shove me in the Me Too box to further their own agenda. And first of all, I didn't want any part of that because it's not the truth, and I'm not a victim in that regard.
That's not what she's saying now. She's talking about he was bigger and blocking the way. It's all the Me Too buzzwords. She said there was a imbalance of power, for sure. My hands were shaking so hard. She said she blacked out. Blacked out? She's a star. I don't think sex...
That doesn't mean she's been subjected to the likes of Donald Trump.
Well,
I might black out too.
that's the job. It's kind of like Stormy Bob Stormy. Action, and let's go, and we're losing the light. So I just think she's not a good witness.
She's not a good witness, and Bill Maher's totally right here. That first clip that you heard is from Bill Maher's show in 2018 when she said, yeah, I wasn't MeToo'd. I'm not a victim in any way. I slept with Trump. I slept with about 1 billion people. Didn't think twice about it. But now, Bill Maher observes, the story's changed a little. Oh, he blocked the door. Oh, there was a power imbalance, whatever. Stormy Daniels is obviously a liar. We know she's a liar because she signed an official statement years ago saying, I did not sleep with Donald Trump and I did not receive any hush money payments. I couldn't have received a hush money payment because I didn't sleep with Donald Trump. So there was nothing to hush up. She signed that official statement. Now she's saying, oh yeah, I lied about that. I was lying then, and I was lying for money. And now I'm totally telling the truth. Even though now I also stand to make a lot of money by changing my story, I'm totally telling the truth now. No, she's a liar. She was lying then, or she's lying now, or she's just the kind of person who lies when it suits her. And to Bill's point, she is a prostitute, and she's not. I'm all for redemption, and I don't think anybody is beyond redemption. And I don't just, when I go on the podcasts with the OnlyFans girls, I'm the one who's not making fun of them and not castigating them. But there has to be some repentance. Repentance is the key here. The point is not that prostitution is great and we shouldn't, don't judge man. No. You very much should judge the sin and recognize that we're all sinners and all fall short of the glory of God. And we can turn away from our sin and God's grace is available to all of us. But you have to repent. And as far as I can tell, Stormy Daniels is totally unrepentant. She is the kind of woman who would do anything, including degrade herself for money for her whole career. And she doesn't seem to have repented of that at all. And on top of that, we know that she's a liar. And to Bill's point, she's a bad witness. She's just a bad witness, period. So is she lying now? Look, the case is ridiculous. And the fact that she's such a terrible witness is actually good for the Trump campaign. And most people know it's the whole thing is rigged and is just a political witch hunt. However, I want to raise another possibility, which is maybe she's not lying. Maybe when she uses all this Me Too language, maybe she sincerely believes it. She might. And you know how I know she might? Because people's memories change over time. Because this incident allegedly happened in 2006, and it's been 18 years since 2006. And sometimes people's feelings about things change. Sometimes people's recollections change. Memories, especially as they're that far in the past, become notoriously unreliable. This is why we don't admit this kind of evidence in court generally. It's why we have statutes of limitations on crimes until recently, until the Me Too moral panic. And then we got rid of all the statutes of limitations. And as a result of that, there was a lot of injustice done. Basic facts about human nature. Feelings change, people change, memories are unreliable. We've thrown those out. We've thrown those out in the pursuit of some virtue. Not even just some vice. It reminds me of that Chesterton line. The modern world is not so bad because it's so evil, but in some ways because it's so good. It's not just the vices, it's the virtues. When a religious scheme is shattered, it's not just the vices that run wild, but the virtues as well. And the vices run more wildly, and they do more terrible damage because they're isolated and alone. That's what you're seeing take place now. Or Stormy's a total liar. But even if she's not a total liar, there's still a reason to have statutes of limitations and not trust people's 20-year-old memories. There's so much more to get to. Before some of the stories that I really want to get to today, though, we got to take a pause because our DailyWire comedy Bircham launched yesterday. Very, very exciting. You go check it out, DailyWire Plus. Terrific show. Adam Carolla. You're going to love it. The most important thing, though, is one of the cast members of that show, Roseanne Barr, who I've been a fan of for a very long time, and I got to spend a little bit of time with at the premiere party in Los Angeles. Roseanne Barr then shows up on the show of another friend of mine, Megyn Kelly, smoking my cigar.
I'm going to start referring to myself as the artist formerly known as Roseanne.
Oh, I like that.
I really have thought about that.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, it's this kind of an age, and Principal Bortles is that. She kind of is a George Burns kind of character. And
Roseanne's
I've always
holding a
loved
cigar.
George Burns. And, well, because I told you, the nicotine thing. You know, these are nicotine leaves.
Michael Knowles set you up. He was there last night distributing his favorite cigars. And this is, I believe, a Michael Knowles offering we have here.
I saw it there on the table. It was wrapped in plastic. And I said that God is providing me with a way to satisfy my great craving for nicotine right now.
How long have you been off the cigarettes?
God, 6 months. Because I haven't been near a comedy club. But as soon as I get around comics, I've got to smoke. See?
Do you do the vaping at all? Is that in any way satisfactory? He's chewing on it. She's chewing on it. The stogie.
No, because it releases tobacco direct.
I owe Roseanne an apology. When we were chatting, and I didn't realize that Roseanne, I should have realized. I didn't realize she was a fan of cigars. So I'm glad she was able to swipe a Mayflower cigar from the table at the premiere. But we got to get a box of Mayflowers to Roseanne pronto. Okay, and you got to go check out Roseanne's new show with Megyn Kelly, with Adam Carolla, with a lot of great people. Mr. Burcham at Daily Wire Plus. Rest of the show continues now. It's Music Monday. You don't want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.